Welcome to another episode of The King's Couch. I'm your host, Sulo King. And today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Ben Johnson, who is a local legend here to some people in San Diego. He is the co-owner and bar manager of the legendary venue, the Casbah. And he's also an author and filmmaker. He just released his first feature film. And he's got a pretty incredible story to tell. So I'm going to let Ben do the honors and take it away. Ben, why don't we go to the beginning, how you got into music, and just kind of let's work our way up there.
All right, cool. Yeah, like you said, my name is Ben Johnson, and I'm the maker of Fanboy, the movie, and the Web World trilogy, of which I just finished a series of books. And thank you, Sulo, for having me on. So I got interested in playing music. I didn't really have a choice. My mom was into music my whole life. She was always singing. She was always in choir. She was in opera. You know, I was in the Suzuki school playing, violin and clarinet poorly, very young. And then I started playing. I think I got a snare drum when I was about 9 or 10. And then I got my first drum kit when I was about 16, but I had played a bunch of percussion in the meantime. And then, just kind of started from there. So it was always something that was going on with me. I was in choir also. I was raised Catholic, and I was in choir from the time I was 5 until I was 18 and was no longer Catholic. I've always been doing that. I started playing in bands when I was a teenager. And then I moved up to Santa Cruz and didn't really do stuff for about 3 years. And I came back to San Diego in '93, and I've been playing in bands ever since then.
Right on. Do you remember what year was it when you started your first band?
I was 17. I was kicked around in a couple bands that just played 3 or 4 gigs. But the first band that really did some damage was called Tourette's-Lautrec, and I started that with some people in '94 or '95. It had a different name at first, but called Tripod Mac and the Wife. And then a lot of the people, the same people, we disbanded that band, started another band with basically all the same people except for one. So it was that was kind of an addition by subtraction. So we changed the name after that.
The band I remember seeing you in was The Long and Short of It.
Right, that another band that did some good.
And you had that band for how many years?
At least a decade, probably 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, you had a good run with that band.
Yeah, definitely.
One hell of a front man.
Yeah,
I remember when I first started really getting to know you at the Casbah. I would always kind of comment on that. And I think it was like when I would play there when we really first started rapping out, rather than me just ordering a drink.
Yeah, probably around that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did. We had a good following in San Diego and up and down the West Coast. We had actually a really good following in Portland as well because we had a lot of good friends up in Portland. But yeah, we always did really good on tour, and that was, me and my brother were both in that band, and our buddy Brian Barabee, who we knew from Santa Cruz, and then Matt Strakota, who from down here works at Livewire, and just all-around good guy, does the Flim Flam review. So yeah, the 4 of us put out 3 albums and an EP and a 7-inch, and about 11 or 12 years maybe.
Right on.
Yeah.
Are there any other bands that you might want to mention that were notable for you?
Those 2, and then Hostile Comb-Over was another band I played drums in. And then those are the 3 main ones. I started off, my first tour, I think, was I played drums for Physics. And then I, started mostly doing my own thing. I played, my brother was in a band called Corrugated, and then he quit. I went on tour with them, but I never recorded with them. And I was in a band called Wah with Tracy Woolley, who was the girl that one of the girls in Tourette's-Lautrec with me, who passed away almost about a year and a half ago now. Who she's a very, very amazing, great friend of mine, and we were in several bands, and we were the only 2 members of Tourette's-Lautrec that were in the band the whole time. So we were pretty much the whole thrust of the band, and. Yeah, that's mainly the ones that, anyone would have heard of.
Right.
Right.
Right on. And then When did you start working at the Casbah?
97, and that's a funny story too. I was working at a place, and it was just so. It was a really labor-intensive job, and I had to drive a crappy car from North Park all the way to Leucadia, and it was just barely over minimum wage, and it was not enough to really live, let alone take care of the crappy car. So the car is just about dead, and I pulled into. I was living above Scolari's office at the time, the Roost, a just legendary household, and then I just yelled out, "I need a job with tips." Just yelled that out, like, Jesus, and not. I was not praying to Jesus. Let's get that clear. And then, and my buddy Dustin Millsap said, "Hey, I just quit the Turf Club, man. Why don't you call Tim Mays right now?" I ran over to the phone. I called Tim Mays. I said, "Hey, I heard you need help at the Turf Club," and he said, "Yeah, we do need somebody. Funny you should ask. And you're on the short list to bar back at the Casbah if you want that gig." And I said, "Oh God, it was just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when needed, which usually was only once or twice a week, but I got that gig, and then I just never let go. And I wouldn't just take any gig that came down the pipe. I would wait for the plum stuff, and I'd say no to certain ones, like no, just push it off. And when something, blazingly hot came along, like Friday night, I'd be like, okay, I said no to all these. This is the gig, and I went hard after those, and I just kept kind of doing that until I ended up in a bar manager position and bartending, the nights, by and large, the nights I wanted to. I didn't force anybody to quit, but when somebody quit, and they had something that I wanted, I would go full bore on it. So. And
then when you first made that initial call to him, it sounds like you already had a relationship with Tim Mays. Is that
what happened? Yes, from playing there, but also I was there one night, and they only had one bartender scheduled, and this guy named Scotty Ricks, who was way back in the day, dude. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, dude, if you don't mind, you look like you could handle this. Can you just go around and collect glasses, come back here and wash them, and then just do what I tell you to do? And then at the end of the night, I'll give you some money. I know you're here with your friends, but can you do this instead?" I said, "Hell yeah." I have a huge work ethic. My family has a huge work ethic. I'm drawn to people like that. Like, I'm a very go. So if somebody ever asked me for help or anything, I was probably scooping up glasses and taking them up there anyway, because that's just kind of how I roll. You know what I mean? Totally, exactly. I've hired people because of that. They come up to the bar and it's just like, "Hey, you obviously, you got something going on. Are you looking for work?" If we've ever needed somebody, it's twice that I've hired people. If they bust the glasses, and I'm like, "Hey, you obviously, you already have the attitude we're looking for. You need a job?" Yes. But anyway, yeah. And so I just said, "Hell yeah." I made I worked like 4 hours, made $150, which I was used to working in coffee shops and delis. And I was like, wait a minute, you make this kind of money just washing a couple glasses? So yeah, it was already attractive. And I already seamlessly, I didn't need to be trained because I just popped right into it already. And so that's why I was on that short list that he was talking about.
Right. Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So I did have a little bit of a relationship with him.
And then let's fast forward a little bit. Like, when did you become a part owner? How did that come to be?
What happened was one of the original owners passed away. And I said to Tim, his name was Bob Bennett, trained me, for good or ill, how to bartend, because Bob was a certain type of old school bartender where, 2 ingredients is one too many.
I remember Bob.
Yeah, he was the greatest. Yeah. He was just so hilarious and great. But so he ended up passing away, and I said to Tim, like, I don't know if you need this, but if you do, I would love to invest in this company. I come up with something from somewhere. I don't know, whatever you would need. I would do my best to come up with something like that. And he said, "Good to know," And then a couple months went by because what happened is Bob's brother, I think maybe could have had a lien on the building back then or something, or on the business just because of next of kin or whatever. Right. It turns out he just was like, "No, I don't want anything to do with that." But so I was like, "Hey, if you get into this situation, I would be happy to be one of the people that could buy this guy out if that's what he wanted or whatever." And Tim said, "Good to know." And then a little time passed, and I was like, "So anything ever come up with that? Become of that?" And He said, "Oh yeah. I just actually, you go ahead and look in the safe, and there's like your monthly stipend for being one of the owners now, you know." So he gave me a small percentage of ownership just from sweat equity, and so I didn't have to buy in. He just and then Jeff Haynes, who also works with me, Jeff Doom from the Archons,
love him.
It happened the same way for Jeff, like a couple years later.
Cool.
Jeff's
I didn't
partner.
know that about Doom.
Jeff's partner.
So when I bought my studio, he was already renting space there when it was Black Box.
Right.
The first friendly face I saw.
Yeah, Jeff's a great guy.
Yeah. Him and Scott, it was such a pleasure. Actually, Scott helped me out big time and filled in for our band.
Oh wow, really?
A bunch of gigs when we were in between drummers.
Yeah,
I have a lot of respect for the Archons.
Yeah, both of those, all those
Chad
guys.
too.
Chad, they're great. I just
saw
Chad yesterday.
I think they all kind of at one point worked at the Casbah.
Yep. Oh yeah. They all worked there at the same time. It was hilarious. Yeah, I worked with them all on the same night sometime. yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
So that's how that happened with the ownership of the Casbah thing. And I had already, that never would have happened if I hadn't quit drinking before, Bob passed away, because I was way too much of a live wire when that was going on. So
well, let's talk a little bit about your party with history. Sorry, your history with party.
I'm partying with history now.
I think I might be drinking right now.
So I just I had a lot of fun drinking, but at the end of my drinking career, I was drinking I would get up and drink a 12-pack before I'd have a cup of coffee. Like seriously, I would drink like 70 or 80 drinks a day. Like just drink. I drank so much that I would closet my actual drinking from people, even when I was drinking, like visibly, because people even hardcore alcoholics would go, "God damn, you drink a lot." You know what I mean? So I had everything was underground, and so what happened was I was working at Lancers as a daytime bartender, which was, working as a daytime bartender is a rough fucking gig, because you see lifers in there who are like, barfly, tying the scarf around the neck, sort of, trying to get the drink, and it's just like, "Hey, how old are you? 80? No, I'm 45. He's like, "Holy shit, I got to get out of this business." I'd start at 9 and then just fucking start drinking as soon as the boss would leave. It was about like 9:45, and and then started drinking like shots at that time, and then just so you can't go a whole shift and start drinking that early. So I passed out on the bar a couple times where people would be poking me and I wouldn't wake up, and they'd just go get the drink themselves and leave money, and I'd wake up and there'd be like a pile of money, and what the hell's going on? So so that happened a couple times, and I got fired from that job, and I said, well, fuck it, I'm gonna buy 5 cases of beer, whatever. I'm gonna buy shitloads of beer. I'm gonna drink from right now until Monday morning. And then Monday morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm just never going to drink again. And so that's what I did.
So you wanted to go out with a bang.
So I did, but it wasn't even with a bang. I didn't even go out with anybody. I just sat there in my house and fucking did nothing and just drank and drank and drank for 2.5 days straight.
Completely.
No, the people were in and out and went, oh, God.
I was about to say, that's pretty hardcore. A little dark.
But no, I wasn't, people weren't drinking with me. I was just drinking, and then I woke up Monday and I had 2 full beers, unopened beers left, and I opened them both and I poured them down the sink and I started cleaning up, and then I never looked back. It was a hell of I had never even been hungover for 15 years or whatever, because I just kept drinking, and so that's when the hangover the 15-year hangover came, and that was super gnarly and hellacious, and had like staph infections all over my legs and ass, and had I couldn't sleep for about a month, not a wink of sleep for a month. You just lay there and in a cold sweat and shiver and shake and not sleep and pretend like you're sleeping, because you have to try to pretend and actually sleep, and just your head feels like a rag just been wrung out, and it's just everything is just so fucked up and foreign, and you just want to lubricate yourself, and you can't, I mean, I could, but it's just I either, and that was the real thing. It was I had to make a choice. It's I have all these dreams and ambitions and the things I'm doing now, and making and make creative stuff, you know what I mean? Instead of just peter out at age 35 and not have anything to show for it, really. I mean, I had some records and things like that, but, that I had put out, but still, it's like not. And you always think that you're going to turn it around, but unless you actually take that physical step and turn it around, it doesn't just do it itself. And I just made that choice. It's like I could either do these things, I can start writing books, I can start doing these things, or I can just keep drinking, because those are the two. And that's a very, very finite thing at this point. You know what I mean? Because I just super bad health and not, Fortunately, I'm pretty naturally healthy, so I was able to bounce back. Not, it didn't take me that much time to bounce back, but it was like a year before I felt like a normal human being, after drinking that. Yeah. Well, it was like, that was another thing. It's like, I don't want to have a whole new crop of friends. I like my friends. They can control their drinking. That's fine. I don't want to, I'm not even a high school graduate, so I didn't want to go start over making the kind of money I'm making, it'd be very difficult without some kind of diploma, to go just switch careers like that. With that, I do a trade or manual labor, but even then, the turnaround time where you start making that kind of money is going to be like 3 or 4 years, you know what I mean? It's just like, if not more, you know what I mean? Because bartending, it can be stressful in the moment, but it's easy money ultimately, you know what I mean? You can leave your job at home and leave your job at the job, and when you go home, and it just, I had to eliminate that option from my mind. It's like, okay, this is not an option. So the only option is all these other things. You know what I mean? But this just, I had to excise. And I know that sounds simplistic and might work for me and not other people. And that might be true. But for me, I just had to just carve that part of my brain out and basically lobotomize myself from the alcohol part, and get that out of there so I could concentrate on using my mind for all of the things that I actually wanted to do, and I mean, and the time and effort it took to conceal how much I was drinking from everyone and to keep my job and to keep things just barely above that median level. I walk down the halls at the Casbah sometimes and I just remember the feeling of walking down and taking a deep breath and going oh, fuck, I hope I can fucking make it through tonight. Or I hope somebody has some fucking Coke so I could jolt my brain awake enough to be able to make it through my shift. You know what I mean? It's like I never even really did Coke per se, except for when I was way too fucked up. I'd be like, oh God, I got to find somebody who has some fucking cocaine because I cannot make it this drunk. I have to zap it and get it zapped for an hour and a half so I can finish my shift and then just totally crash. You know what I mean?
Just to level you out.
Yeah, you're just doing, so you're then you're doing drugs you don't even want to do just so you can keep doing the drug that you want to do. So it's just dude, it's so much effort. And when I quit, it was oh my God, it was so much effort to do all that stuff. And that's why people's oh, you have such a high output. And it's well, I had all this time and effort set into these weird little clandestine things, and just this little bits of time. And then you stretch all those out and it's yeah, I'm writing a book for an hour and a half, but it's I spent at least 9 hours a day fucking sneaking around and doing weird shit, you know what I mean? To conceal how much I was actually drinking. And it wasn't even drinking to do anything. It's just drinking to drink, you know what I mean? And there's a constant party, but you're the only one there kind of thing, and then it's not a party. And then it's not a party for anybody. And then it's a chore for everyone to deal with you, And conversely, everyone did say, oh, did you save any money, when you quit drinking? And that's the thing is, there was this network back kind of when I quit drinking of bartenders just kind of flowing each other. And I would walk into probably 30 different bars and nothing would be charged to me, ever. You know what I mean? So there's just kind of this thing, you come by mine, I'll take care of you, you go right here, take care of you. Right, yeah, but on steroids. So, because I mean, there are all sorts of places, man. People would go with me and be like, you don't fucking pay for shit. And I was like, I tip real well. And they're like, yeah, fuck, I'd say, you don't pay for drinks. Of course you do,
Right.
So. Yeah, it was crazy. But it was a huge adjustment in life. And I mean, I'm not filled with crap loads of regrets, but I do have big regrets. Like Tourette's-Lautrec played a humongous show in New York, and I didn't know in New York they didn't play till 4 a.m. So by the time we fucking played, we played last, and there was shitloads of people there to see us, and I was fucking hammered and totally blew it. You know, just totally fucked up the whole set. And it's like I think about that every day, right now, and this is in 2001. You know what I mean? I think about it all of the fucking time. Like if I wasn't such a shithead, I could have really made, you know, that was this linchpin, pivotal point. And it's like you're going up and you're going down. You know what I mean? In the public persona, and that was our plateau, and we started going down after that, and it was absolutely 100% my fault. Right. You know, because we were a badass band. We had our own thing. People didn't sound like us. We didn't sound like people, but it was crushing and it was delivered, you know. And it just, that was, you know, I always felt like I let all the people that I was involved with down because of that, you know. But that wasn't even enough to have me stop drinking at the time, you know. Like it took a lot more than that.
Wow.
Because my wife is a huge reason why I stopped drinking at the time. All the dreams and goals that I had. And also my wife, who was not my wife at the time, but I was like, hey, this is an amazing person, like the pinnacle of people that I'm going to be meeting up with in my life. And if I don't fucking change myself and try to grab hold and keep hold of this, then I'm just a fool and I don't, you know, like I don't deserve this life. So that was also a huge guiding point for me.
So when you first got sober, you were married to somebody else?
I was not married yet. We were going out, but she is now my wife.
Gotcha.
So she wasn't going to marry me when I was drinking. No,
but you were with her at the time.
Yeah. I think we went out together for 2.5 years while I was drinking, and we were just about to. Like, if I didn't quit drinking when I did, we probably would have broken up. She did not say that, but that being fired from the Lancers thing was just like, okay, dude, you can go do your thing. If you ever figure it out, come hit me up or whatever. But we didn't have that conversation. But there was a feeling that I got about that time, and so that was. But now we've been together. We've been together 18 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was so we've been together 15 and a half years since I quit drinking, you know, and then 2.5 years before that. So, yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah, 7-year-old child. That was a whole another thing is, that has a lot to do with why I started writing books. So that's a pretty good segue. I had been sober for a while, and we co-owned a house with my wife's sister, and, you know, things were going pretty well, and we talked about having kids, and we tried, and you know, it wasn't working out, and we thought it was her, and it wasn't her, and then I went, and I saw a urologist, and he said, yeah, I'm sorry, dude, you can't have kids. And so I was like, oh, shit, that sucks. Okay, I've kind of, you know, never thought I would, younger, and then I got with Monique, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, she wants kids, hell yeah, I want kids, that sounds great. So I went for it, and then that guy said that, and then, you know, it didn't work out, so I was like, well, fuck, I've changed this, I got a dog, you know, this magical thing happened with this dog. Our neighbors went to check out this dog, and it did not like the neighbor dad, and then it came and sat in my lap and licked my face, and like after growling at this other guy 10 feet away. And so I was like, oh my God, it's my dog. So I got a dog, and I started writing books, and I was like, okay, well, I can't do that. Now I have a dog, and I'm writing books, so that's cool. And then we knew some other people, and they had a kid, and they were like, yeah, we went to see this doctor. And he's like one of the foremost, you know, male fertility doctors in the U.S. And you know, we thought that we couldn't have kids, but we went to this guy, and he did this procedure to see if we could, and it turns out we could, and then he had to do something. So I was like, wow, I had already seen this doctor, but when we got to the talk about the procedure, I was just like, you know, it's probably not going to work because this other guy said it's not going to work, so it seems like we're throwing money away. So whatever. And so. But then talking about this guy had a good rep, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I went back to the guy, and indeed, he was, you know, he comes in and he says, after the thing and everything, he's like, the hardest part about this job is telling a couple that they cannot conceive children. Fortunately, I don't have to do that with you guys. And he like gives me a high five, and I'm like, I was just like, dude, what? You're just like, what is actually happening right now? Like, he seriously did that. I was like, oh my God, okay. I'm stoked, but is there another letdown one? Like, well, wait, okay, I'm kind of punch drunk off it. But anyway, it turns out that I could, and I just had to go mine that shit out, and then we, we went on that track, and, you're supposed to have so many fertilized eggs when it happens, and we just had one, and and to the point where the female fertility doctor is, like, crying and, like, apologizing, but we just kept going back, and that little, ultrasound is bigger and bigger, and then it's a bean, and then it's a whatever, a little pear, and then it's this and that, and then it's a kid, and then it's holy shit, and then we're in the hospital, having a kid, and that's she's 7 years old now, and she's reading Harry Potter and shit. So yeah, things are going well. So on that. So but that was, and then after we found out I could have kids, I had already written my first book. You know what I mean? So I didn't have to, like, okay, we have a kid, and now I'm going to start writing a book. Which that if you don't have the process kind of started already, having a kid is a pretty labor intensive thing. I'm sure you've heard. Yeah. You don't have a kid.
I'm the
right?
only one in my pen that doesn't have a kid.
Right? Exactly. Like, takes some time and effort.
Working in the industry, it can be really hard to date.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jealousy, a lot of possessiveness that comes along with that, and I mean, it's not the best enticing environment to meet your significant other.
Right.
Either.
I did meet my wife at the Casbah.
Yeah, but
and we were both working there.
Well, throughout a lot of the shows that I used to produce at Brick by Brick, I've put a lot of matchmaking magic.
Right.
By pure coincidence. But yeah, no. I totally get that. I've heard that having a kid is like the most life-changing experience. Our lead guitar player is like 12 years younger than me, for example. He's the baby of the group. He just had a baby boy in March. And when I met him, he had just had a kid when he first joined Authentic Sellout. So I've been the funkle to a lot of kids. And, I love children. Maybe one day I'll have one of my own.
But that's the thing. It was just the way things converged that made it right for us. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
so awesome.
yeah. And
That's
she's awesome. Like, my kid is awesome. And the pandemic did have a lot of downside, but for my relationship with my daughter, it's been amazing. Like, we are super. I mean, we were already bonded before that whole thing, but we are like,
yeah, I've actually met
psychically
your daughter
linked.
Once.
She's radical.
When I was in North Park, I ran into you on the street. I was trying to find a bar. And
Right.
I was like, hey, Ben, hey, what's up? And you were like leaving some function for your daughter. And you had your wife with you, too.
Yeah, right on.
The whole fan band.
Yeah. That's how we roll.
That's rad. But going back to the first book you wrote, what inspired you to write that and go down that road?
I started it just took me so long to iron it out, but when I was 18 years old, when I was 17 years old, I think still, a girl, I was bouncing around and had trouble with, I went to a seminary in Santa Barbara. I got kicked out of that school. That's another long story because I was battling evil, basically, child molesting priests. And I got kicked out as a way to cover up their asses. And then even more of them got thrown in jail years later. I was right, and they were fucking wrong. And I got kind of shoved out.
You're serious?
Absolutely 100% serious. That's a whole other fucking podcast.
This is the shit you see in the media, folks.
this was a major thing. And then, so I went to Torrey Pines for a little while, and then I just started partying. Like, going from a cloistered 60-person school, it's all boys, and you don't go anywhere. And then I came down, and my parents were, living in North City West when it was just starting being built. And I went to check out Torrey Pines, and I swear to God, there's people smoking joints, and there's girls at school in fucking bikinis. And I was like, I want to go to this school. I don't necessarily want to go to this school, but I want to go to this campus and then do whatever it is that you do when you ditch school or whatever. And so I already had a great education, so I just fucking went nuts. So anyway, bouncing around, I ended up in Oregon with an aunt of mine, and this girl who still went to Torrey Pines, she was graduating. Her dad had an opportunity to go on a river rafting trip, privateer, with a couple of his friends through the Grand Canyon. So for 14 days, and I could just hang out with her, and we'd basically, you want to be my boyfriend and go through the Grand Canyon. I was like, fuck yeah. Sounds awesome. Yeah. So I did that. I loved it. So I tried to get a job at the Grand Canyon. And I hitchhiked around Utah and Arizona and the Four Corners area trying to get a job, which was not a good plan. I ended up dead broke after a bunch of misadventures on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. And I just went and I basically forced them to hire me as a maid. And I worked there for a while. But when I had time off, I met all kinds of, just being in the Southwest and just that whole vibe and the whole magic. And you just meet a bunch of kooky shaman people and just earth healers and all that. We'd go down to Sedona and that and stuff. And so I was always kind of like bound into that whole spiritual life. I had already done a bunch of peyote sweat lodges with some kumeyaay people that were out here and stuff. And so I was kind of like dialed into that when I was like kind of 17, 18, the whole kind of psychedelic earth magic kind of thing. And so that has always been a part of my mind and my thing, and then I love action and adventure too, so I just kind of combined that and made my own kind of like kind of dark fantasy world in the canyons and streets of San Diego and music and everything, and made this kind of like made my own kind of magical world based on my experiences, like punk rock music and club life, and then also like brown magic, earth magic kind of stuff, and then just the shamanistic concept of the web that unites all things, so like as if every emotion, everything, there's a web, and it you manipulate this web, and so mine is kind of like that, kind of bumped up into kind of a magical sphere where you can actually manipulate the webs of perception to have people see things that are not there, or see different things, or change, or actually then change into that thing that people see. You know what I mean? So how much control you have over this kind of mystical force. So that's where it came from, basically. I just kind of refined it down into that. And a lot of characters and a lot of, things going on in the background, and like a web, it weaves it together, and so there's a whole web combining all of these people, all of these characters, and these stories, and they reach different conclusions along the way, and then there's a massive conflict at the end, and then the whole just sewed it all up after I started it probably almost 8-9 years ago, just fucking around on pen and paper, and then refined it over time until now I have a concrete, trilogy, and now I know what not to do when I write my next books, and I know, what I mean. So to make all the things, and that's the same with movies too. It's like I learned a lot of what not to do. I definitely learned what to do, but not everything that to do, but I learned a lot of what not to do.
Okay. Speaking of that, let's talk about Fanboy a little bit.
All right.
So I remember when you first told me about it at the Casbah, I was super excited for you. The smartest thing my mother ever did was send me to a Creative and Performing Arts High School, SCPA, and that's where I fell in love with
right on. I didn't know you went that cool.
Yeah, and a cool thing about that too is my guitar player's son, who just graduated, he also went there too.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah,
that's great.
He said, I don't
John
know.
Reese from Rocket from the Crypt went there, I'm sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. A lot of people that went off to do big things actually went there.
Yeah, totally.
Even Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Screech, all right.
Poor Screech.
Yeah, I know. R.I.P. Screech. Pour some out for your dead Screechy homies.
Yeah.
I will not pour my coffee on your rug, though.
It looks like it's already had coffee spilled on it, so it's all good.
That could be coffee, folks. It's coffee, folks.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I remember, you were telling me about you're making a movie, and then I check in with you every time I see you, every single time.
Right,
I want to get an update check.
Right. A year would pass and nothing new would happen, seemingly.
But I get that. I mean, being in a band, the hardest thing to do is pull the trigger on an idea, and you have to be the one to make that executive decision.
Totally.
Just do it.
Totally.
That's
the thing is like, the whole movie thing started out as I was making short films with my friend Grant Raniero and his crew of people. And I cornered him one day after rapping on a short film, and I was like, this is all cool, but what do we have to do to make a feature-length film? I mean, like, who's going to see short films, really? Like, let's go for it, And Grant just gives me this humongously exhaustive list we got to do this and that, and I'm just so naive and stupid. And I said, I will do all of that shit if you just show up with your pretty cameras and frame it out and do what we need to do. You know, and so I've basically I have zero technical skills. I had no business making a movie whatsoever. I just pure rah, you know, and I rah-rah'd 250 people into doing everything that we needed to do. I wrote the script. I pitched it to the guys. They liked it. I cast it. I made a band. We wrote songs. We recorded the songs. We we did this whole thing that doesn't, you know, there's not a movie that's like Fanboy out there, but you could say that about a lot of movies, but a lot of them are just art house stuff that's like, there's nothing like this, but it's just purple the whole time, you know, but like this is a concrete film with like the main, I mean, the thing I'm proudest of with the whole thing is the storytelling, you know, it's like the concrete story. There are clues embedded. They might go by too fast because the camera, you know, didn't get the exact shot that we needed to get, but it'll be in the bottom corner, and like it has all of the necessary clues that lead you to the conclusion that gets led to in the movie. And I don't want to say anything about the ending in the movie. But,
yeah, rent it on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. It's on Prime. You can check it out for yourself and get back to me about it. But we just kept going, you know, and it's like with something that massive, you cannot look at how many things you need to do. You just have to look at the next thing that I need to do. You know what I mean? Because there's too much shit. You can't go like, oh, I got to do this and that and this and that and this and that, and then it's just intimidating, and you just want to like curl up in a ball. We have to do this next thing. And then once that is done, then you just do that next thing. You know what I mean? Which isn't to say you don't plan, because you have to plan. You have to meticulously plan. But you're planning, you know, you're planning for that next thing, and these tendrils are just kind of awakening these other things, you know, and then you get this guy, and then so a little bit's done on that next thing, so then you just got to do that next thing, whether it's a shoot or, you know, being surprised and not thinking you have to edit a whole movie, but then all of a sudden no one else can edit the movie, and so you have to figure out how somebody else that can help you kind of edit the movie, which happened to me. And then there was a couple of the guys that were supposed to edit it could not do it for one reason or another, and I had to find my friend David Robles, who had helped me make a bunch of music videos, and I talked him into it, and then he helped me with the whole first pass, and then recorded a bunch of overdub people, and then I had to kind of just take it from there. And he couldn't do the project any longer, and I had to, you know, re-edit it, make a bunch of different cuts, and get all the music together, and do all the Foley sound, and like each footstep touching down, you have to make a sound in there, and just hours and hours and hours and hours. And that's the thing. It's like, just do, you know, what you can do that day. Just do that thing. And then the pandemic helped with that because, well, no, not really, because I was doing it when my kid was at school, and now she wasn't at school, but I wasn't at work. So when she would go to sleep, I would work on it from about 8 until about 11 or 12. So every night. So I would, you know, 3 or 4 hours a night, every single night for about a year, you know, and I like, well, no, not a year, but I mean, almost. editing, just about.
Yeah, because you wrapped up post-production in December.
Yeah, in late November. Yeah, around Thanksgiving.
Like early,
yeah, exactly. And I'm surprised I even got it into the drive-in as early as I did on January 14th, but I did. So, and that was the big payoff for everything. So it was so amazing. You know,
not only did he get his movie in a drive-in during the pandemic, he released it on Casbah Day, which was really cool.
I know.
It was sold out, and I dropped the ball in getting the ticket to that. And then the second, you know,
in February, we did it again.
Second release, but brought back by popular demand.
Yeah. The guy, actually, the owner of the drive-in, reached out to me. Yeah. You know, at first he was very skeptical, and he's like, yeah, you're probably not going to sell out the 180-person screen, so we'll just give you the 90-car screen for first. I was like, okay, and then we sold out the 181 rather than the 91 in like 3 hours. And I got back to him, and I was like, hey, we got this. So I had the 4-screen night. He was like, I kept selling them out. I sold out 4 screens that one night in the pandemic with a curfew. So we had to get it before the curfew and everything. And then he called me like 2 days later, and he was like, hey, you want to do another one? So that was pretty rad.
That's
awesome. To totally bring him around that hard, you know.
I remember asking you, I was like, well, are you going to like release it streaming somewhere like Amazon? And then As soon as he released it on Amazon, I sent him a screenshot that I purchased the movie because I felt bad, and I just.
Oh, don't feel bad. Even that people are interested, anybody even talking about it, even anybody.
I mean, I wanted to support the cause.
Yeah,
I can't.
No. I totally.
I'm all about supporting artistry. I always have been, and it took you like 5 years to complete this movie.
Yeah, from the time, from the time we wrote it, I pitched that idea until showing it in the drive-in was a month and a half short of 5 years.
So for 5 years, we had almost 5 years, 4 years, we had many conversations about Fanboy. And it was so cool to see all these local musicians and people you see at shows and all our friends and acquaintances and whatnot in that movie. And Alberto, I just want to give him
another R.I.P.
a shout out.
Sure.
R.I.P. to him, too.
Probably the best natural actor in the entire movie, I would say.
You know what? I would have to agree with you on that, but I was pretty damn impressed by your acting skills.
No, thanks, man.
That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wow, he really sells it as a creepy dude.
Right, yeah, right on. I could do other roles too, people.
But no, you're just a natural.
Yeah, I did a lot of acting when I was younger.
I could tell.
A lot of stage, and then I was all about making videos when I was in bands, so I've made about 10 videos.
And you actually had a seasoned actor as part of the cast. Played one of the detectives or a chief or something?
My mom.
Oh, that's your mother.
That's my mom. Okay. Yeah, the lieutenant. She is the one SAG-accredited actress in the movie. Actually, Murugan the Mystic, Scott Nelson, is SAG-accredited, but his movies are not as...
yeah, trust me. I've had him do some sideshow stuff over the years back in the day.
I was living with Scott when he started doing that act.
Oh, really?
We both lived above Scolari's when he started that act, and we were all like, what are you fucking doing? God, why are you sticking that skewer through your arm, and what are you doing to your... Scott, stop! Hey, girls, you want to see this? No, Scott, no!
It's one thing when you're seasoned and a professional doing it on stage, but when you're in the beginning phases, fucked up at a party, or just casually hanging out at the house, that's a whole other story.
Man, you might want to just do it in the mirror for a few years, peeps. Jesus Christ. Right. Call 911. I'm doing a stunt.
Oh, man. But yeah, like I was saying, it was just so cool to see like so many familiar faces, and you gave like props to all the different, like the way you did it on tour with all the different cities, cities. And
right.
They were like references from movies.
Yeah, movies and books, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Like San Angeles is Blade Runner, and then there's one from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Santa Carla from Lost Boys, Santa Teresa from Sue Grafton, and also Ross MacDonald, two hard-boiled detective novelists from America. Who I love, and everything's a reference to something else, and you can guess the rest if you watch the movie and send me notes.
Yeah, go on Amazon Prime. You can rent or buy the movie.
Fanboy 2021. There is another Fanboy. Don't get that other one, or you can. I mean, I don't care.
Oh, was that the Star Wars one? Wasn't it?
No, that's Fanboys. There's another Fanboy, and but
we
already had our Fanboy apparatus in place, and then they released it like a year and a half before I finished mine, and I was like, wait, it wasn't here before when I searched it, now there's another one, what the fuck? But fortunately, there's no like cease and desist kind of bullshit with movies. You can call it the same thing, and there's always, I was trying to find one called After the Rain, which is a samurai movie, but then there's a bunch of sensitive After the Rain ones that I did not want to watch that were also available. So, there's a bunch of movies with the same name.
I hear you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you filmed a movie entirely in San Diego, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Cool. That's really cool. I've never seen anybody do that.
It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Was I Am Not a Hipster. I think that was filmed part was filmed at Casbah, and I think that was filmed mostly in San Diego.
Wow, I haven't watched that. I might have to go watch that tonight if I can stop watching samurai movies.
About like 10 years ago, they're like, dude, you got to watch this movie. The lead character totally reminds me of you. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not a fucking hipster. He's like, exactly. That's why. He's like, you just don't play the music. Yeah, I was like, well, I mean, we are kind of like post-indie, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's a killer movie. I think you dig that.
Right on, yeah, I'll check it out. That's cool.
I am not a hipster. Right on. So why don't we talk about how entering the pandemic affected things for all of you guys at Casbah and how you guys handled that?
It was crazy, scary, like what are we going to do? You kind of knew that the government would come up with some package to where you didn't go completely hungry. But, I mean, I've worked there a quarter of a century, and, it's scary. Like, you don't know where money's coming from for the institution. Of course, your operating costs are down, but we're like, you're kind of used to making money. Fortunately, Fortunately, two things. Tim is smart and has divested himself into different businesses and not just, live music venues throughout the years. So he had a coffee shop and a record store to, still make revenue from, even though I think the record store was closed for a while too, but a lot less. And the second thing is we have, a pretty awesome, supportive fan base of people that have gone to the Casbah over the years. So when we started doing the sales, the first of which was the Ben Johnson special, which they only called it that because I was like, hey, why don't we do something besides like black and white shirts, like the blue and pink, So he's like, blue and pink sounds great. So then it became the Ben Johnson special. But that was our merch company, like that was the biggest sale they had ever seen. Like it was just ridiculous. They just flew off the shelves. So that. And then we had a bunch more T-shirt sales. We tried to do live streaming, but live streaming is not a way to make money. It's a way to keep your brand out there. So that was good too. And we dialed in our live stream game, which now our live streams are they look super pro and awesome. Thanks to Orion Ferguson and to Otto, and.
Are you guys still doing the live streams at all?
We just set up a system to where we're going to be able to live stream the live shows with capabilities. Yeah. So we installed camera angles that are now, we just had, when you came in during the pandemic, we had cameras on tripods right in the middle of the floor, tripods. Now we have them mounted into strategic areas. Yeah. So now we're going to do even more professional live stream stuff. So. Yeah, well, I was just like, well, we already did this, and now we have this, and so let's just go this way, because Orion dialed it. His shit looks great now. So we kind of he refined it. Otto Valentine and Orion Ferguson, they just totally, kind of made it go and got better and better. And now to the point where Tim was like, hey, why don't we just, have this as an option, so we can be streaming and just kind of have our brand reach into that kind of digital realm as well as the physical realm that we, are pretty much the standard at,
That's right. And for those listeners out there that aren't familiar with the Casbah has been around for 30, how many years?
32 yeah, in 1989.
32 years. It's the most legendary venue in San Diego, hands down. Tim Mays is by far the biggest independent and longest running independent promoter in San Diego, and the only one to not sell out and leave and go to a larger market like LA, like El Silver or something like that.
Right. Belly Up guys are still around too.
Yeah. I mean, when I was booking shows and running brick by brick, every agent is like, well, I got to check with Tim Mays first. So sometimes I'd even hit him up and be like, bro, can you just bring the show over here?
That's like yeah.
But, I got a lot of respect for Tim, and
he's good.
If this was the Star Wars universe, he would definitely be like Yoda.
Yeah. At least Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. Maybe that's me.
Actually, yeah, that's you, and Tim is Yoda. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because, Tim's very soft-spoken, and I was more mentored by Harlan Schiffman.
I love
Harlan was my boy, man.
Yeah, I love Harlan, too.
I needed that kind of guidance, because I was a young punk, and I was just 22 years old. I was the youngest person in the scene, running a legitimate sized club like that, taking over the booking department, not an independent promoter, what I mean?
Right.
Even though I went off to do my own thing, while still booking shows and running the calendars at Brick, it was really cool to have Harlan take me under his wing, because Fine Line Entertainment was his company, and he'd do shows a lot of the time there.
Yeah, he's one of the owners of Casbah.
that's what I was going to ask you too. Like, how is Harlan? Like, what is Harlan up to these
I haven't
days?
seen him in a little bit, but he was doing good last time I saw him. Just rolling around with his dog, kind of hanging out. He seems he's still kicking it.
That's good.
Old Harlan.
Yeah.
Hi, Harlan. I love you.
Harlan, if you're listening, I love you, man. I haven't seen you in years, and please tell him I say hi.
I will, for sure.
Talk to him.
Harlan's great.
Send my regards. Awesome. So let's go back to pandemic. The live streaming thing.
Right. So
quick,
that's
kind of wrap up to where
that's how we kind of made our money in the meantime. And it was tough to be out of work that long, but when it started, I was like, I have two huge concrete goals. I have this opportunity now, that's forced on us by the universe, and I'm going to finish this movie and finish this book by the time I get out of this motherfucker.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just missed it with the book, but now it's done, and you get to that long, and it's like, well, you don't want to rush things. But I did. So I would just, I would do the things I needed to do at the Casbah to keep it, kind of going, and just to make sure that, I don't know, nobody breaks in, or you just keep it a little bit clean, and just kind of do the things. So we were really all over it for a while, like painting everything, doing this, that, and the other, and then that ended at about May or June of 2020, and you're just like, okay, now what do we do? Because we're not any closer to doing anything. So then just forever, it just kind of sat there. And so I would kind of go down, make sure everything hadn't fallen apart yet, or the roof didn't cave in. But then just hit my own stuff just incredibly hard. And then this latest relief package from the government had a big independent venue association thing, which totally helped us out and made it to where, okay, we're not, we're like, both two things happened right around the same time. As we got that bounce of cash where it's like, okay, we're not worried about stuff now. Like that's enough of an inflation to where we're cool. No matter what happens now, we're cool. Unless a whole nother pandemic happens, so knock wood. But so then right after that, the general reopening was announced. Yeah. So we're just like, okay, there's no restrictions on anything, okay? And then you're just going, oh my God, I have 16 masks on, and now I have no masks on. And like, should I have one mask? It's like, I don't know. And so, I don't even know now. I'm wearing a mask at work, but I can't wait until nobody has to wear masks anymore, and everything's eradicated, and my you can be. The young can be vaccinated, so I'm not freaking out about my daughter if I go to work and come back, and then I'm going to give her some variant strain that's going to get her sick and have long-term infection or something. It's like, can we just, I want to get my daughter a safe vaccination, and so we can have the general populace be inoculated against this, horrible disease that overtook the fucking planet, and we can start moving towards a brighter future.
Well put. Mother Nature will take its course. If you look at history and all the epidemics, pandemics that have happened, eventually normalcy returns.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll all be fine. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Enough with all the division out there, guys.
Yeah, totally.
Quit being a bunch of knuckleheads. So we're getting near the end. Is there any final thoughts? Any type of message you want to provide to the listeners out there?
If you have dreams that you've been putting off, start them today. And it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter how much you do, just start it today. Put pen on paper, start doing something, call someone that can help you do that thing, get some advice, start right now.
Very eloquently put. And how can people follow you on social media, online?
I'm Benjamin Johnson on Facebook. I'm wearing a tinfoil helmet. I'm also Fanboy the Movie on Facebook, Fanboy Movie on Instagram, and the Web World Trilogy. I got to learn to say that better. The Web World Trilogy also on Instagram and Facebook. So
awesome. And, of course, you can rent or buy Fanboy on Amazon. And where can we get your books?
On Prime. You can't get the third book yet because I'm going to have a release event at Verbatim on a Saturday in September next month. So they will be available after that. But also they are available through Kindle Direct Publishing, which is an Amazon subsidiary. And they will also be available at Verbatim Books.
Right on. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Nope. Thanks a lot, Sulo. Peace.
All right. And that wraps up another episode of The King's Couch. I'm your host with the most, Sulo King. And thank you for coming on, Ben.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
All right. You guys stay radical. We'll catch you next time.
Yes, man.